Visualization is very effective. It's very helpful, and it's free. So I think we should be doing this with emergency procedures and malfunctions also. You know, there are a lot of things about the skydiving community that I really like. And one of those is our willingness to discuss and contemplate emergencies, malfunctions, problems, and even the ever-present potential of death. That's not something that we ignore. It's not something that we run away from. You know, the phrase, "Oh, don't jinx me, you're gonna jinx it." I don't know if I've ever heard anybody around the drop zone in the packing room or on the plane to altitude say that in a serious way. Maybe as a joke or something, but that's just not something that we believe in as skydivers. We actually believe in the opposite of that, which is preparedness, planning, forethought, getting ready, practice, and watching out for one another. And I love that about the skydiving community. I love that is our attitude towards the inherent dangers and risks that come with the sport that we enjoy so much. And I think that's great. I think that's one of the things that helps our sport consistently remain so safe, and that we have such a good track record. And so my goal for this video is actually to encourage us to do that even more. I think we're doing a good job of doing that, and I want to do it even more. Specifically in regard to the topic of visualization. You know, I hear a lot of people, skydivers, talking about visualization techniques, and how to use that to improve your skills, how to use that to prepare for a jump, to prepare for a competition, and that's fantastic. For one thing, visualization techniques really work. They're very beneficial, they're very effective, and so that's awesome. Now, one area that I don't hear it as much, I'm not saying I never hear it, but as much, is when it comes to emergency procedures and malfunctions and dealing with problems. Now, we do talk about it some, and I think in AFF and STP, our AFF program and instructors do a really good job of training students, of teaching them to think about and visualize and imagine what different malfunctions look like and how to deal with those. So as students, I think we get a really good training. We get that at the beginning, but it seems to me that it kind of tends to taper off and fall off, and then we don't talk about the visualization aspect that much after that. And so, which is natural, it makes sense. We focus on, you know, we want to get better, we want to improve our skills, we want to learn how to wingsuit, or we want to learn how to free fly or whatever, and that completely makes sense. That's what all of us do. So I'm just encouraging us, we have this tool that is visualization that's free, it's easy to use, and it's really effective. We should also be putting this tool to use when it comes to malfunctions and emergency procedures. It's something that each one of us can do on a regular basis on your way to the drop zone, when you're packing your canopy, on the ride to altitude. It's so easy, but so effective and so beneficial. Let me give you just a couple of quick stories that kind of illustrate this point. I hope it will illustrate what I'm trying to say. The first one, I may have told this story in a different video one time. In my hometown, it's a small town. There's a highway coming into town, goes right through the middle of town. This lady was driving one afternoon. She was on the highway coming into town with her grandchild, and she was going about 55 miles an hour because it's a highway, so she's going the speed limit. As she comes into town, she realizes that her accelerator on her car is stuck, so she can't slow down. Well, she panicked. And that's understandable, you know, something that had never happened, you don't anticipate, you don't think about. She panicked, and so she wasn't thinking clearly. She ended up driving her car all the way into town, going 55 until she got into the middle of town and ended up having a terrible car wreck with another vehicle, and 2 people ended up dying. Now, that's a terrible story that had a terrible outcome, but it could have so easily been avoided. The most simple and obvious solution that she could have done, had she remained calm and thought clearly, there's an obvious solution. All she had to do was put the car in neutral, steer to the side of the road, and turn off the engine, and it would have been fixed. Now, I understand that she panicked, and I'm not berating or condemning her for panicking. That is a common, normal response to a dangerous situation. So that's the whole point of this video, is that we don't have to have that response. We can, with forethought, with planning, and through visualization, we can put ourselves in an emergency situation, a malfunction, a dangerous position in our minds, so that we can, before it actually happens in reality, we can train our body and our mind how to deal with that situation before it occurs, so that if we ever find ourselves actually in that situation, we've thought through it, we've actually trained our body and our physiology how to react and deal with it, and we have a better chance of remaining calm and thinking clearly. Also, when we're visualizing, it gives us the opportunity to take our time and think through the possible solutions. Like this, I can hear that story about that poor woman and her grandchild, and I can stop and I can take as much time as I want to think through all the possible scenarios and outcomes and solutions until I figure out what I think is the best one. So if that ever happens to me, I can react instantly with clarity of thought and calmness of mind to keep myself and others safe. Now, another thing that happened to me one time was in my own home. My mother was cooking some French fries. She put a skillet of grease on the stove, and she turned on the stove to get the grease hot before she was going to cook the French fries. Well, she got distracted talking with my brother out on the porch and forgot about the skillet of grease, and it caught on fire. I smelled smoke. I ran into the kitchen and I saw this skillet on fire, flames, smoke everywhere, and I panicked. I didn't think clearly. I panicked. I picked up the skillet and I tried to carry it outside and throw it into the yard. As I did, of course, the grease spilled out and it burned my leg really, really bad. I got second and almost third-degree burns. Anyway, the point is, I panicked. I didn't think clearly. When the firefighters came to make sure that the fire was out and to help check on everything and actually take me to the hospital, one of the firefighters, he took my mom to the side and he said, "Ma'am, you know, I don't mean to make you feel worse about the situation, but I feel it's my responsibility to tell you, just in case this ever happens again, if you ever get in the same situation," he said, "there's a very easy, simple solution." And she said, what was it? He said, "Well, look, right here next to the skillet was the lid. All we had to do is take the lid and put it on the skillet. It would have instantly blocked all of the oxygen to the fire, would have put the fire out instantly. We could turn off the stove, wait for a few minutes for it to cool off, that we could carefully carry it outside. Now, sure, there would continue to be smoke, it would continue to make a mess, but no one would have gotten injured and hurt." Again, it's easy to think of those things after the fact. So the point of this video is to say to us, we don't have to wait until after the fact. We can actually start visualizing before the fact. One of the things I really like about the Parachutist magazine is the incident reports. I try to read those every single issue. I try to read those incident reports, and I try to visualize and envision myself in that scenario. I try to recreate in my mind what happened to this person. What were they doing? What were they seeing? What were they thinking? What was happening that got them to that position? And I think about their decisions, what they did that caused the malfunction or that caused the problem or caused them to get injured. And then I try to think, okay, what could have been done differently? So by visualizing, imagining yourself in that situation, you can deal with that situation in a calm, peaceful manner. You can take your time to think it through and then choose your course of action based on logic and good decision making without panicking, without the restraints of actual danger or time constraints in front of you because you're in the air. So that's what I want to encourage us to do. Encourage you to really spend time every week. Find a time to sit and imagine yourself in different emergency situations, different malfunctions, and how you would deal with those. And then sometimes even try to sit down with your friends and think of, okay, what are some crazy malfunctions that you've ever heard of, and how would you deal with it? How would I deal with it? Put yourself in those scenarios so that you can be ready when they actually happen. As I said before, visualization is very effective. It's very helpful, and it's free. So I think we should be doing this with emergency procedures and malfunctions also. It's going to help us all be more prepared. It's going to help us be safer. And who knows, you may come up with, just imagining yourself in this scenario, you may come up with a solution to an emergency procedure or malfunction that you would never think of otherwise, but because you took the time to sit and think calmly and logically and rationally, you come up with something that'll save your life. I hope that's helpful. I hope that's beneficial. Please leave me a comment. Let me know if this is something you're already doing. How are you doing this? How are you visualizing? How is it helping you? What are other ways that you plan and prepare for emergency procedures and malfunctions that you can share with us so that we can all benefit from this? I hope that's beneficial, and I hope you guys are having fun out there in the sky, and hopefully we'll get to jump together someday soon. Crave, do more, be better.